Right. So yeah. So tell me, any questions or anything to ask about?
Well, you mentioned last week briefly this kind of cycle of people where they are working and then they come home and they've got to make the food and get the groceries and pay the bills and all this stuff, and it's just like kind of an endless cycle, and they never really find time for anything spiritual or meaningful or worthwhile. Something of this, right? Do you remember that, saying that?
Yeah, I know. I said it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, what did you think about how to actually just break that cycle?
But this whole principle, like the Kabbalah or Upanishad and many other teachings, and I always say, you have to be wealthy in order to pursue a spiritual path, which is why, like the Chinese say, your life is spent in quarters, and it's the last quarter of your life that you devote to your spiritual development because you're retired. Your family is established. You have enough money that you don't have to work. So that's why I say we need to get enough money to be able not to be controlled and imprisoned by the material needs of the body. You know, that's what drove me when I was a young child. I saw that I'm a slave to my body. Food, clothing, shelter. I have to have these things. And to have them, I had to work to earn the money to buy them. So that's why part of my philosophy is in working in a way and living in a way that within 5 years you should be able to retire. So in those 5 years of accumulating enough money and using it wisely to be able to have more freedom in your life, you are also developing yourself to be prepared for a more spiritual development, to be prepared for more wisdom, because the way, you know, I never went to school, and I've been in over 30 different kinds of businesses, from retail stores to nuclear waste remediation, you know, to the nuclear industry, and energy and medical, cancer cures. And I never went to school. And it's very simple. I do that because the technology or whatever you're doing is only 5% of what's required, knowing what you're doing. 95% is your quality of character, your personality. That's what gets you to succeed. Obviously, I'm not going to be a doctor, but I don't have to understand cancer or the technology to run a company that developed a cure for cancer, right? I'm a businessman. So it applies to whatever your particular interests or business or field is. That 95% of your success is your personality. So by following the ethics, which is how I made them, I mean, it's my life. I've shown what I've done and what I've taught my students to do over the years in different countries, how to succeed. And that's how we develop these ethics. By doing that, you're becoming a better person, but you are making yourself something so unique that you're much more in demand than your competitors in whatever business is. So you're in the process of becoming a better person simultaneously to making the money to work towards your retirement. And when both of those two lines of work on yourself merge, at that point, you'll have the financial freedom and the time and the wisdom to further cultivate yourself in the spiritual sense. So yeah, that's part of it. And the development of wealth to be able to retire is not $100 million. Everybody is different. You know, for some people, there was one fellow, a friend of one of my friends there in Auckland, a Kiwi guy. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And my friend was telling him, why don't you retire? You're complaining about the stress. And he says, if I retired and I put my money in the bank, I'd only get $10 million a year in interest. He said, who can live on $10 million a year? Okay, so being able to retire is very relative. You know, 1 million actually could be enough. So that's why. So when I say retired, you have to bear in mind that it's not necessarily hundreds or tens of millions of dollars. But yeah, it's necessary. And that's the only way out of that cycle, Chris, is that you have to buy your freedom just like any slave in the olden days would try to find a way to purchase his freedom from his master. Because a slave is a commodity. It's an asset, just like a car. And you buy them and sell them. And you are a slave to your body, so you have to purchase your freedom by being able to provide enough money to satisfy your master. Your body is your master, right? Food, shelter, and so on. So I need to provide enough money to make my master willing to sell me to myself so I can have my freedom, which means that I need enough money to provide the basic needs to keep my body alive. And that's the right amount of money to purchase my freedom. And I need enough and to use it in such a way that I have enough for the rest of my life. Okay? And that's why I think, Simon, you're the only one here with children. So, but you're already older and past that. But it's why I always judge my students that if you have children, it's very, very, very difficult to achieve the success because your money you have to keep working to support the children. But that's why it's much easier for single people, which is why the spiritual path generally says be celibate, so you don't have children, so you don't have the obligations, you see? So, you see, there's a lot of things that are there which are all basically tied to providing or purchasing your freedom financially in the material sense, right? Because obviously if you have to support a wife and 3 kids, it's going to take a lot longer to make that money to be able to provide for them. But if you're single, it's much easier to make enough money and to live in a way that's self-sufficient, right? So that's why generally when I say I can make most people retire within 5 to 10 years, I don't do that if they're married and have kids, or single people. People with kids takes a lot longer, unless the kids are grown, I'm talking about younger people. All right, and so to get that takes tremendous sacrifice. And in that sacrifice of 5 years of your life, you're developing an amazing amount of willpower, of the differentiation between what desires are really just distractions. You learn what enough really is. What do you really need? You master your ego. You become much more humble. You develop so many qualities of character in this process, according to my methods, of creating enough wealth that you can retire in 5 to 10 years, that you're actually becoming, that actually is the spiritual path. Or it's the path of ethicalism. It's simply to be a good human being. It's funny, I was actually going through my old articles, some of them that I thought I could combine in the Ethicalism book. We'll call it book, not Bible. And I found one article from November, funny enough, same month, 2009. So that's 7 years ago. And there's one line in there. It says, our purpose in life is to simply be a decent human being. And I hadn't realized that I've been saying or thinking this for so many years. But it's always been the basis of success. So that's why, you're saying to progress on the spiritual path is in the process of acquiring that kind of wealth to purchase your freedom. Okay? But you don't want to make the sacrifices. People like toys and they like holidays and they like to buy more clothes or whatever it is. So the money keeps getting dispersed. So it never collects to enough of a momentum. I think I told you when I was young, since I was 13 till about 24, I never took a single day off. And then I could retire early because I didn't disperse my funds. And I never drank alcohol. I never smoked. I never did drugs. I never went to bars. And I never did anything that normal people do, which disperses their funds. So my money was like a snowball. It got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger on its own. And that's the difficulty, is that you have to be willing to submit yourself to slavery for these 5 to 10 years so that you can accumulate a lifetime worth of money in a very short period of time. Right? Okay? Yeah. Everything has a price. Everything has a cost. And money is money costs time. So, yeah. Okay, does that answer you, or?
I think it does. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Not the answer you wanted to hear, though, huh? But I want to do that, and I want to take vacations, and I want to get a new car, and I want to do this and that, right? Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's another aspect to it, which is just the I don't know, some of those other requirements tend to get in the way of actually doing the things that would bring that money as well. And so that's, when I say trapped in that cycle, I mean like trapped in this cycle of just too many day-to-day things that take away from being able to put in the time to do the work. And so like for example, a normal full-time employee job is, not enough to even begin getting to this point you're talking about. Yet a lot of people do those types of jobs because it's all they know or all they can do at the moment, and it's required to pay their bills. And so but it can kind of be draining, and then leaves little energy and time to work on building something bigger that would actually be leading towards what you've discussed.
See, that's the turtle and the hare. You know the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah.
Okay, you're the hare. You're the hare. I'm the tortoise. Okay? First of all, you've said you have a full-time job to pay the bills, and that's 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
What about the evenings and the weekends? That's 2 more full-time jobs that all the money can go towards savings to be able to do investments. So that's how I did it. I had the regular job plus evenings and weekends. That profit or income from the extra 2 sections of our day or life was all the money that went to be able to, when I was 17 years old, I could buy my first property. Okay, I bought my first property when I was 17. Granted, it wasn't that huge property, but that was it. And then when I was 21, I had enough money to invest in opening my first store, right? Because I had these extra 2 sources of income, which all went towards savings. So that's the first thing. Second thing, you talked about it's draining. Okay, this is again the spiritual path. This is the path of ethicalism. You are only drained by your resistance. Okay, resistance to what is happening is where your energy is drained. And like, I love it. It came from Star Trek, but the Borg, that movie, resistance is futile. Okay, a lot of great sayings come out of science fiction movies. Resistance is futile, Chris. You're going to resist your job. You're going to resist your boss. Isn't it futile to resist it? And yet that's what drains you. So, ethicalism tells us to go along with what is happening without resistance. It is to subjugate my own ego and accept the current situation. If it's raining, I take an umbrella. If it's hot, I wear less clothes. If it's cold, I wear more clothes. I don't resist and dress how I want to dress, regardless of the weather. So, I have to purchase my freedom. I have to have a job, so I have to work and earn that money, which means resisting it and saying, I hate my job, I hate my boss, is futile. And that is where it is draining. Okay? If you look at anything that is draining you, energy-wise, you will find that you are very angry and resisting the whole time. You're in bitterness the whole time, and that's what drains you. So, if we go along with the objective reality, which is that I can earn $10 an hour, and if I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, I have enough to pay my bills. How am I ever going to get rich? Well, it's very simple. I work another 4 or 5 hours in the evenings, and I work another 10, 12 hours every day on the weekends, and now I'm making 3 times more money. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is about time. It's an exercise of keeping a time log, where for 2 weeks or a month, you write down very precisely every minute, okay? At 7:30, I brushed my teeth. At 7:40, I had a shower. At 7:58, I went for breakfast and had my coffee, okay? You keep a precise log of everything you do for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month. And you will find that you waste at least 50% of your time. Okay? You waste a tremendous amount of time. Then you want to sleep 8 hours. Well, you sleep 8 hours because you're drained all day, because you're resisting life. But I sleep 3 hours. Okay, what was it? Friday night, 2 hours. So I sleep 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Usually 4 hours I'm okay, because I'm not resisting my day-to-day life. All right, so you can cut down your sleep hours. My students, when I had the school in Colorado, the ones from 10 hours they needed to sleep, they came down to 5. Now you think about 5 hours a day, even let's say it's 2 hours. Do the math, 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week. It's easier if we just do it by year. 2 hours a day, 365 days a year is 730 hours a year. Divide that by 24, I can't do it in my head, but you can get the picture. You got a lot of extra days a year. Now, if I take that many days and I work 12 hours a day, earning $10 an hour for that many more days without changing anything else in my schedule, imagine how much more money you make. And that's only $10 an hour. Okay, so when you say, all your complaints, right? How am I going to make the extra money? Oh, I'm so drained and blah, blah, blah. This is what we're trying to do, to simply be a better person. And you will find you have so many more hours in the day, so much more energy, and you can make so much more money. In 5 years, easy to retire. Especially in your profession, you can make $50 an hour. Where'd my phone go? I didn't take my phone. Yeah. I just used the calculator. Now I'm curious. Now I'm very curious. So what do we have here? We said, so 2 hours, 365 days divided by, well, no, even that we can say it's 730 hours. But let's see, if we divide it by 24, so it gives you 30 days. It gives you an extra month. You now get to live 13 months a year, okay? So you get 13 months a year, and you earn, say, $50 an hour. That's $36,500 a year more. And that's in just saving the sleep, okay? So if we have the sleep of 2 hours, you reduce. Plus you do an extra 4 hours every night. And then let's say 8 hours on the weekends is 16. That gives us 22 hours a week times $50 times 52 weeks. There's another $42,000 you're making. Okay, so, and that's just savings. Now, if I do that for 5 years, so I've got over $200,000 cash in 5 years. With $200,000, I can buy $1 million property. And all of a sudden, I've got $1 million property, which generates a rental income. All of a sudden, you know, in 5 years, I've got that. Now, in 10 years, I continue to make another $200,000, plus the increased value in that one property. In 10 years, you could sell that property, have the extra accumulated cash, and you'll have an easy $600,000-700,000. Out of that, I buy a $400,000 home to live in, and I've got another $200,000 that I have, or $300,000 I can put in the bank to collect interest, amortize that over the remainder expectation of your life, and you'll get maybe $10,000 or so a year income. You have free living because you have your own home without mortgage. And now you can work for fun 3-4 hours a day and still generate enough money to have a very comfortable life in your own home. Retired in 10 years or less. And all you have to do is work 3-4 hours a day, which you should do anyway, because if you don't do any work, your brain's going to turn to mush. So there you go. So simple, you see? And that's just you with your little profession without expanding and inventing something to sell for millions of dollars or any great imaginations of making some big business. Very simple, basic life that anybody could do. All right? So never come to me if you want an excuse, because I'll always give you a solution. All right, Andy, you were going to say something. I think that answers you enough, Chris, right?
It does. It opens the door to another question, but maybe that's for another time. The question is simply, my observation is it's our ego or other things that would prevent us from being able to do that. Things that say, like, for example, because I've tried excessive amounts of work and eventually I kind of, fizzle out, burn out. And I've found things like taking time off, spending time with friends, going out into nature, things like that nature tend to recharge me. So how you did it without that time with friends and recharging, I'm amazed. And
it's simple. Your ego is a horse. You're the carriage. You're letting the horse go where it wants and stop when it wants. You're not controlling the horse to take you where you want to go. Okay? It's that simple. That's the first thing when you talk about the ego wants to do this and that. The second thing is that I don't fight reality. You are resisting the objective reality that you have to tame the horse and make it work hard. You don't want to do that. So because you don't want to put in the effort, then you're going to suffer with the same life for the rest of your life. You don't want to put in the sacrifice. No. When you sacrifice enough, you get stronger. If you never sacrifice, you never get stronger, right? Anyone who goes to the gym will tell you that. Okay, Andy, you were going to ask something.
Yeah, two things. One is this concept of financial freedom applicable for everybody in every age? So obviously over 12 or whatever, but every age of their life, like someone in their 70s or, is that getting...
No, obviously, if you're 70, there's no way you're going to say, okay, I'm going to sacrifice 10 years of my life, and when I'm 80, I can retire. Right? Use a little common sense, please. So obviously, that's not going to work. And everybody is different. And everyone's going to be having different capacities, different skills. I cannot take someone from the slums of India and teach them this. Or I should say, I cannot take just anybody from the slums in India and get them to do this. All right? There are some exceptional people which can succeed. But no, everything is individual. But who cares about the people in the slums of India when you're talking about your life? In other words, other people is totally irrelevant to you in your life and your success. Right? If you should only be thinking, what can I do? Unless you want to package my teachings and sell it and try and make money by selling courses on my teachings. Then you should be concerned with it, can anybody do it? Because that's all part of your marketing. All right? But if you're really following my teaching, then you should only be concerned with you succeeding. So you should be asking, can a white Kiwi boy at 35 years old be able to do this? That's the only one you should be concerned with. Okay? Yeah.
Cool.
There's no... Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay?
Great. I guess the question comes from... Yeah, I guess you're right. The question comes from the fact that I might be talking about ethicalism from time to time to people and sharing your teachings, just in a conversational tone. So I want to make sure that I'm not pitching something incorrectly. So I should just talk generally.
Yeah, being a better person. We're not talking about making money. You're very fixated on money. Very material, very fixated on money. So forget about the money. But on the other hand, somebody who's 70 has a much greater advantage over you at 35 because they don't need to have as much money to last the rest of their life. Right? Because if I'm going to live till 80, I need a hell of a lot more money when I'm 30 than I do when I'm 70. Right? You got to put that in proportion too. So, but no, listen, if we're talking about ethicalism to anybody else, it is simply to be a better human being. Forget about the money. Don't talk about money in business to anybody. All right? We're only talking about being a better human being, peace of mind, clean heart, better communication, these sort of things, right? That's why I'm not putting money in the documents, you know? We're not putting money as part of it.
And
Okay?
just a further comment on the point of intersection you referred to. At a certain point, you're saying after, putting in the effort, then you become ready for other things. Is that just natural progression? You made the comment of...
Yeah. Be a little more clear. What are you talking about? Other things. What other things? What intersection? What do we mean?
I guess that's the word you use, but I think I'm just trying to clarify. Did you mean that's when you can just put your mind on more spiritual matters, things that are more in the mind, more training of a different nature?
Well, you can put your mind to whatever you want. The question, I think you're talking about what Chris asked, right? When I was answering Chris, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think David, you said the 5 years or so you're working harder, you're mastering the ego, but you're also building the financial freedom. I think that's the intersection.
Yeah, that's right. So in talking to Chris, he's young, he wants money, he's complaining about being too busy and drained because he has a job. So I'm telling to him about making the money to get your freedom, because that is his question. Okay? So everybody is different, but basically we're saying that you can pursue whatever you want, but all I'm really interested in giving to people is that perfect state of emotional freedom and equanimity, where I sit around, I'll go in a coffee shop or restaurant or anywhere, and I look at people, and people are fidgety, people are nervous, people are not comfortable, you know what I mean? People are generally not. And I'm just sitting there like a sack of potatoes. I'm just here. Nothing is fazing me. I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm content. But I don't see people being very content in their life. I don't see people just being happy, period. Completely content, completely relaxed, unfazed by anything that's going on around them or what anybody is saying to them. And that's really what my intention is to give that state of peace, inner peace, to, let's see, the goal of ethicalism is to be a master of one's own mind, to clearly understand what one is thinking and why, to be immune from emotional and mental manipulations, to deal with every situation objectively with perfect ease, comfort, and balance. To be emotionally independent and have perfect equanimity is heaven on earth. Okay? That's what I would like to bring to the world. You want to make money, you don't want to make money, I don't care. That's not necessary. Because like I said, some people, this guy can't live on 10 million a year income. Give me 10 million, I'll be really happy for the rest of my life. So the money is different, but ethicalism is basically for that. The point, that's what I want to give people, all right? And because when you say how much is enough, enough is when you're satisfied. And so I would rather I'm more interested, instead of giving people a way to make money, to be rich, I'm much more interested in presenting something that makes you totally satisfied, period. Wherever you are, whatever you have, you are totally satisfied. If people are losing their head, they're screaming, they're yelling, they're cursing you, you're totally satisfied. You're not disturbed by anything. Okay? That is what the goal of ethicalism is. All right?
Dave, just a couple of minutes ago, you gave a long list of sort of...
Wait. I don't know why. I don't hear anyone else talking, but you were very broken up.
Yeah. Can you hear me clearly now, or am I still broken up?
Yeah, that's better. Okay.
Just a couple of minutes ago, you gave some very nice definitions of what you teach. You were looking down. Were you actually reading that?
Yeah. I'm writing something that I'm just showing to one person at a time, select people for them to give me comments, and then after pretty soon it'll be ready to publish. Yeah. And then you'll get it.
You should put that in your book of ethics. Like at the beginning, this is what this book is. This is what this book teaches.
Yeah, it's the book about ethicalism. Yeah. The title is, what's the title? Ethicalism, the difference between religious faith and conscious faith in yourself. That's the title. And right now it's only 2.5, 3 pages long. And as I said, I'm just selecting certain people I respect to get them to read it. And I respect in the sense of, I think they're older and know more about life, that can give me comments that I like, and then building it, and then I'll be releasing it. So probably each one of you will get a chance to give a review, one by one. Because you know what? If you give the same document to the same person 5 times to read over and comment, they're going to get very bored. So that's why I give it to one at a time, and then build it that way, right? So that's what we're doing. Okay, so yeah, you'll get it eventually. So it's, yeah. That one.
Did you say that?
No. Hold it still so I can take a screenshot.
Yeah, take this too. Okay? All right. What else? I mean, I'm going to talk about it today. That was the idea for today. Okay, some more question? No? Yes? All right, okay, so but basically, I mean, this is what we're talking about. So religion is basically a framework of the world that gives meaning and purpose to your life, right? Religions are so flawed. They are so flawed. But if you are a farmer in Bhutan, where you have to walk for 3-4 days to get anywhere because you're way off in the Himalaya mountains, you don't know anything. And so you can follow this religion and you can do your things for thousands of years like your parents have been doing. But today, you know, like in Bhutan, they have 2,000 temples. The problem is not enough young people are going into the monastic school to become monks. They don't even have enough caretakers. Never mind monks to actually fill the schools. And that's the last sort of closed 100% Buddhist religious country in the world. And even their religion is losing its grip because people want the internet. They want smartphones. We know too much. And we're thinking now, you know, we think humanity at large. Whereas opposed to hundreds of years or 1,000 years ago, we didn't think too much. We were much more obedient as a species because there was no means of communication, or we didn't really know what's happening in other parts of the world. And, you know, we were much more disciplined and obedient and so on. So the problem is that a human needs a framework. human is ruled by one main fear, death. You're scared of dying. And it's an animal instinct. On one sense, obviously. But it's a psychological fear in that what happens after I die? Everyone's wondering, what happens after I die? And the question itself proves the existence of the soul. Because if you were just a body, you wouldn't wonder what happens after I die, because I'm dead. When I die, I die. End of story. So the question, the thing that the search, the eternal search of humanity for meaning of life, for what happens after, which is why religion succeeded. Look, religion's only succeeded for one reason. They told you what happens after you die. So everyone follows it because, oh, now I know what's going to happen after I die, and if I am a good religious person, I'll go to heaven. And so they answered that question. So they grew really well. So this is what we need. We need to know. And we need to know, why am I here? God created man. Okay, we can go in different religions. Islam. God was a hidden treasure because God was all there was. God was a hidden treasure and he wanted to be known. So he created us, humans, so we would know God. Now, what kind of an egoistic statement is that? I mean, let's face it, right? I'm a perfect God. I'm absolutely perfect. And in fact, I am so perfect, I want a lot of recognition for my great perfection. So I'm going to create humans so they can recognize my immense perfection. That's what Islam tells us we've been created for. Okay? Judaism. God is perfect, can do anything it wants. God is complete as a whole. But there is one pleasure that God cannot give himself. And forgive me for saying him, okay? It's just easier, all right? God's an it. But if I say it, people get upset. Okay? But God's an it. It's not a he or a her. Anyway, there's one pleasure God could not give himself, and that is the pleasure of giving. Now, isn't that a great joy? When you give that little child the ice cream and they're so happy, you get more joy than the kid, right? The joy of giving a gift is a tremendous joy. And if God is all there is, who's he going to give to? Because let's face it, if it's your birthday and someone gives you a present, it's much nicer than if you went and bought that thing for yourself. So God created humans so he'd have someone to give to, so he could experience the joy of giving. That's Judaism, all right? So the religions say that there's a purpose. It gives us a reason for existence. It gives us an explanation. And we're always looking because we know, well, something is missing, all right? Why am I here? Because those explanations are not quite good enough. Like, all I'm here is to get God's gifts and say blessings and thanks to God. It's unfulfilling now. That's not enough. It doesn't make any sense. So religions aren't working, but we still need to have a reason for our existence and what happens next. Those questions will always drive humanity, all right? And like I say, the question has to be coming from somewhere. That does go somewhere next, and I want to know. So, survival instinct for the body and survival from the ego point of view, all right, of what comes next. So, since we see too many flaws in religion now, and if you read the whole Adam and Eve story, it is so filled with flaws that if you think about it, you don't accept it. Now, the other thing is this. Remember self-lying. We're all lying to ourselves. So you're going to see a flaw in the religion, or someone will question you if you're a devout Christian. And the answer is generally, well, it's in the Bible, therefore it's true. And I'm going to say, okay, so the Bible is supposedly true. Now, when was that Bible written? Let's say 2,000 years ago. Okay. When did God create the earth and humanity? 100,000 years ago. So what, like the Bible's an afterthought? Okay? It just doesn't make sense that the Bible is accurate when it was only written 2,000 years ago, and to say, well, it must be true because it was in the Bible. So how come God only thought about it 2,000 years ago when he created us 100,000 years ago? Why wasn't it written a long, long time before that? Right? So these are things your subconscious mind is seeing and questioning. But the conscious mind doesn't like unanswerable questions. So it says, no, it's in the Bible, it's true. Okay? And you shut down. All right. So the problem is the same thing that says, what happens after I die? So what is that continues? Is the same thing of the subconscious mind that sees flaws and says, well, I can't accept that as an answer, so now I have a discomfort that is still looking for an answer of, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? And now religions can't solve that. So the idea of ethicalism is it does give you a purpose to your life. It gives meaning to life in the sense of it being a path that makes you live in a certain way such that you are not riddled with guilt through doing things that you know are wrong because you don't know what's right. So it gives you a list of ethics, so you have a correct path of conduct. You will live in a certain way that you will not feel guilty, you will not feel irresponsible, you will not harm anyone. And when you have removed guilt, your mind can get more at rest and inner peace. And it is that point where you become emotionally independent, that you are capable of accessing aspects of your brain and your mind, which can give you the answers to our purpose in life and what happens next. Okay? So we could say it from a scientific point of view. They say we use 5% of our brain. Well, what's the other 95% there for? Filler? Just something to fill up your skull? Okay. That doesn't make much sense now, does it? So why is it I have a brain and I only use 5% of it? Why am I not using the other 95%? Well, there is something preventing me from using it. And what I believe is it is the constant rattling of your mind, which is due to guilt, fears, frustrations, and so on. And when your mind is calmer, it automatically allows you access to further mental, intellectual, or psychic abilities that are in that 95% that we're not using. That, Andy, is why I'm doing this. If you could convey that to people when we talk about ethicalism. It is not about making money. It is not about financial success or worldly success. No, it is about a true path of spiritual cultivation. And for those people who don't believe in spiritual cultivation, it is simply better communication, better relationships, peace of mind, peace of heart. So you sleep better. Okay? So that's what religions are no longer able to provide us, but we still need the purpose of fulfilling these questions, unanswered questions. All right? Okay, before I continue going further, any comments or questions so far? Time limit? Okay. So our subconscious mind and soul knows better. And thus faith in religion is fading globally, right? So we need something that'll give us that. So that's what the idea of the ethicalism is, based on, and okay, it's based on each person taking responsibility for themselves. So again, when you were talking about somebody who's 70, forget them. Only you. That's very simple. How do you take care of every single human being on the planet? Everybody just takes care of one person, themselves. You take care of yourself. Everybody is taken care of. I mean, if everybody takes care of themselves, right? So this is a simple list of ethics so that we take full responsibility for yourself, for your own life. Never blaming others. Never saying, oh, my job is so draining. My boss is terrible. Blah, blah, blah. The government takes taxes, blah, blah, blah. All these things. No more blaming anybody else. Everything that is in your life right now is your own fault. Especially every thread of emotional pain and suffering. It is all your own fault. You are doing this to yourself. And you have to take that responsibility for doing it to yourself. Because if someone else has got a knife in your back, you can't get it out. That's the one spot you can't reach. But if you have stuck the knife in your own heart, that's easy to grab and pull out. Okay? So that's why we have to take full responsibility for everything, because what happens is when someone else sticks the knife in your back, if you're taking responsibility, you somehow have the ability to grab it and pull it out. Okay? So that's one of the most important and hardest things to do, is the full acceptance of responsibility for every single thing in your life. And what's important with ethicalism is that there can be no dogma, no creation myth. You know, this is where the world came from, this is a heaven and this is a hell, and where you go and where you go. Your life is heaven or hell right now. And it's all about living this one life. So now you're going to get people say, oh, but reincarnation. And I'm going to say reincarnation is true and false. It's both. Maybe it's true. I know things, you maybe know things, remember things. How can we know these things? Has to be reincarnation. Okay, you want to believe it, great. But it is ultimately false. Because even anyone who believes in reincarnation will also confirm that your body, your personality, that dies. What continues? Your soul, your essence, your thought formations. Okay, but am I continuing? No. The last time I was a goat, next time I might be a fly, you are a man, you are a woman, right? That's what reincarnation tells us. You could be anything. So you do not reincarnate. And right now you are living this life as you. So reincarnation is false, because you don't reincarnate. So that's why we have to focus just on this life and take full responsibility for yourself. Okay? Now, I'll divert. I don't think I put it in this document, but this is something also a little bit like the all is mind, how we talk about the three minds: body mind, ego mind, soul mind, wisdom mind. One of these days, I mean, it'd be nice if I had like a drawing board. I could draw you pictures. But anyway, imagine. It's a very simple drawing. There's a little dot. We draw it on a big white paper, okay? A little dot in the middle. This is the thing that says what happens after I die. Okay, we'll call it your soul. Now that soul gets born into this body. It is now subject to the demands of that body. And everybody knows men and women are different. We have different desires, different pleasures, different thoughts, different aspirations. So right now, that soul is subject to the body, be it male or female, or heterosexual, transsexual, transgender, whatever the mess you are in. Okay? And you're subject to that. So you're going to now live a life based on whatever the sex or gender of that body. And that's going to make you choose to do certain things, right? How much time do women spend on makeup and their hair? How much time do men spend on that? So right away, we know that be you a man or a woman, a lot of time is spent in different ways. Okay, this as an example. That's your first restriction of the soul. Second restriction. So that's the first circle around it. Second circle around it is your ego personality. This is who you are as a person, your opinions, your belief, your accent, your religion, your tastes that are formed because you grew up with those particular parents and siblings in that country, in that culture, and that forms the basics of who you are. right? You're now subject to those limitations. The next circle around it is your profession. Are you a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, an artist? What profession are you in? And then you'll notice that if somebody has got bald on top and grows his hair long and ties it in a ponytail and dresses in tie-dye shirts and shorts, oh, he's an artist. You know? So you get the stereotypes of style and the way people live and how you want to dress based on your profession. That's another circle that you're living trapped within. Then the other circle is going to be, outside of that, is your job. Who do you work for? Is it a big company, a small company? Who do you work with? Are you frustrated at work? Is it a harmonious place or a negative energy, and so on? And that again affects every experience you have through your life. And then, of course, the other circle is, now where are you? What's your city, your country, the climate? And that, again, controls what you're doing during the day. Because, like, for instance, in Montreal, in the wintertime, you have to leave 20 to 30 minutes earlier than you do in the summertime to get anywhere, because you have to deal with snow and ice and getting stuck or cleaning your car or letting the engine warm up enough to drive it. Okay? So you see, there's another half an hour out of the day that's lost in the wintertime. Okay? So you see that this essence, this soul, has got so many things that are controlling it and affecting the experience that it has during the course of your human life. And all of that disappears when you die. So you do not reincarnate, because you have all of those things that don't come back. Okay. So all of these different layers that control your existence, or your experience, your experience of life, can all be changed. Everything can be changed. And they are changed not from dealing with them on the outside, but from altering the strength and power that the soul has to control its experience of how all of these layers of its life are affecting it. And that is done through a code of moral conduct, or these ethics. When you change the way you view life and you conduct yourself, then your experience in each of these levels will change as well. So your levels of frustration, your levels of difficulty dealing with people at work, the idea that I have to dress a certain way or conform to certain images because of my profession, my fixed opinions and beliefs would separate me, because one thing religion does really well is it makes people hate each other, because there are different religions. ISIS just blew up a Muslim shrine in Pakistan. And it's like, wait a second, you're all Muslims. You're all Muslims. But no, you're a different kind of Muslim, so we're going to blow up your shrine. It's not enough. ISIS wants to kill Christians. They're even killing other Muslims. Right? Why is this? Religion separates people, creates hate. Okay? So if I'm going to change my soul's ethics, and I'm going to take responsibility for everything that happens in my life, I am going to overcome all of my preformed characteristics from my upbringing and become open-minded, not individualized by religion or culture or anything like that. I'm going to break past the image I want to portray because of my profession and my ego's need to be liked and fit in. I'm going to go past fixed opinions which cause me conflicts with my co-workers. I'm going to take responsibility for my negativity and frustration at work and realize it's only because I'm resisting. And I'm going to work harder to make the money that I don't have to be stuck with that job. Okay? So you see, every level will change because I am now going to develop a code of ethics of conduct which will be enforced or implemented by my soul essence, the dot in the middle. And that'll change everything on the outside. All right? Okay, I'll pause now. I'll wait for somebody to say something. Even if it's, you all say nothing. What? Okay.
Just to clarify, so the part of us that is determined or keen to follow the ethics and study them and live them, that is strengthening the soul in us.
Strengthens its power to control the effects of all these other layers that are controlling it. It's basically the soul's way of fighting back. It's saying, you know what, I'm fed up of living in the shit of all these layers of my existence or my human experience. I've had enough of all these layers of my human experience controlling me and making me live the shitty life that I'm living. And it's shitty because I am trapped and controlled by all these external factors, which I know are temporary. Because when this body dies, all these things disappear. So I'm controlled by all these things in this very limited human existence of the one life that I have. So it's the way of the soul fighting back to say, I'm not letting the horses run in different directions. We're all going to work together now. Okay? Does that answer you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are we able to alter our soul?
No. You know why? Because you got no idea what the hell it is. You don't know what it is. You don't know where it is. You don't even know for sure if it exists or not. How are you going to alter it? Right? You might as well be in China trying to shoot somebody in America with a pea shooter. You're not going to hit the target.
Yeah. Something you said about the reincarnation and something that you said about that brought up that question. I forget what you said, but if we are following these ethics, and yeah, I don't know, is there, yeah, sorry, I'm not clear. Does it make sense? No.
If you follow and remember now, the soul is trapped under all of these layers of controlling it. Okay? So you're controlled by everything. You grow your hair that way for a reason. What is that reason? It has something to do with image. So therefore, you're in your ego level, you are trying to live to an image based on your profession, to which you perceive yourself to be a musician and an artist, so you want to look like an artist. You see? So you're controlled by that. And those are the sort of things that the soul can't breathe because it's controlled by these images or images from aspects of its human experience which are purely human and limited. So the eagle is trapped in a cage. It cannot go fly anywhere. So we're trying to break out of that cage. Okay? So what the next line was, ethicalism is a way of living to make this very life more of a heavenly existence and less of a hell. It deals with the reality and present moment of this one life you're living now. Okay? So the only way to actually find the soul is to dig down deep enough. How deep do they have to dig to get to oil? Right? 1 mile, 2 miles deep, I don't know how deep the wells go. You got to dig really deep to find it. So that's what we've got to do. Except ethicalism is a way of, instead of from the outside coming in, which we do also, there's practices for that, it's changing from within. Because basically the soul would conduct itself in a way that harms no one. This is logical. It is logical to say that if I am a spark of God, of a perfect being, and that's what my soul is, it is logical to say, I would harm no one, which is one of the ethics. That makes sense, right? That's logical. One of the other ethics is, God gave you a logical mind for a reason. Use it. Okay. So, therefore, if I observe my life moment to moment, day to day, there's not a day that goes by where I have not hurt somebody in some way. Rude comment, disrespectful driving, I farted in the middle of a movie. Some way, you did something. Nobody laughs. Gee, that was supposed to be a joke. Really? Farted in the middle of a movie? What kind of spiritual teacher would say such a thing? Okay, so that's one thing we try to do is every day make someone laugh. Okay, so it is safe to assume that that soul would not harm anyone. And it is a guarantee that every day you are harming one, if not many people. So therefore, you have no concept of your soul because you're conducting your life in a way contrary to how the soul would conduct its life. So the ethics are a list of ways to which the soul would actually live and conduct itself. Since you are a limited human being, which has no knowledge whatsoever of anything when you're born, you have to be taught, right? Everything you are, you've been taught. You've learned how to speak. Because if it were possible, born the only human being on the planet, you would not know how to speak. Everything you've been taught. But you have not been taught a good code of ethics. So here we're saying this is how the soul will live. So the theory is, if I live a way in accordance to how the soul would conduct itself, it is a logical concept that I will get closer to the soul and master and break through the limitations of all these levels of my human existence. And then you might get to know your soul. And that is the purpose of what we're doing. Okay, does that answer you? Or at least give you an answer, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you do have to have faith that this will help, that this will alter your experience of life. Otherwise, you won't conduct it. So one of the other things I wrote was that you will notice that the amount of effort you put in to any task is directly proportional to the faith you have in your ability to succeed. Right? If you do not believe you will succeed at something, you will not have much energy or take it very seriously about doing it. But if you're quite certain you will succeed, you will have a lot of energy and motivation and you'll get right down to it. So you do have to have the faith that these ethics will alter your human experience. Otherwise, you won't follow them. And that in itself is a test of your faith. Because if you tell me, yes, I really believe in this, but I can't get myself to do it, that's a lie. The lie is you don't really, the lie is that you say you believe it. You don't believe in it if you can't get yourself to do it. And that's another one of the beautiful designs of the human creature, is that we can test our truth constantly about anything we say. It is so easy if you take full responsibility for yourself to test the truth of whatever you think you believe and then get rid of all your self-lies so that you actually live in an effective, successful way because you follow what you truly believe in. And that's, like I said, faith will get you to succeed because you'll put in the effort to do it well. So we need faith. That's why, religious people do have religious experiences. They have faith in Jesus or whoever. And that's one section. Ethicalism creates faith in oneself. Okay? That's the other thing. Now, faith means to trust implicitly. There's no thinking or questioning, right? If you have blind faith, total faith, you don't question, you don't think, yes, that's it. It says so in the Bible. I have total faith in the Bible, therefore it's true. Yeah, but it's obviously full of crap, or there's a lot of contradictions. No. It's in the Bible, it's written, therefore it's true. Total faith. Okay. Faith means to trust implicitly. There's no thinking or questioning. The faithful person has turned over their thinking and reasoning capacity to the hands of that which they have faith in. So that's usually a religion or God, the leaders of the church, mosque, whatever. All right? So the point of ethicalism, it creates faith in yourself. That is where you should really put your faith in. Because there is no human being you can actually trust or depend on. For the very simple reason, humans die, ultimately. So you could have the most perfect person that is 100,000% perfectly reliable, will always be there for you no matter what, and then they die. What happens if you're in trouble and you need them, and the moment you're phoning them, God forbid, they have a car accident and die? You don't know they died, but they're not going to be there to help you anymore, are they? That's why we need faith in ourselves. Because we're the only one who will always be there until we die. And once you're dead, you don't need anything anymore, so who cares? All right? So, the ethics give you that faith in yourself because you're now taking full responsibility for your life and you're conducting yourself in a manner such that you do not feel guilty about things you do, knowing that you've done wrong things. So you'll now have a better self-esteem. And you'll know that you can always conduct yourself correctly. When you have greater faith in yourself, you will have a lot more self-confidence and inner strength. That gives you emotional independence. That gives you balance. Because you're proud to be you. Again, Andy, that's what we want to say ethicalism is about. It's going to be hard for you to recount all of this if you talk to someone, but
no,
anyway.
The last one's great, about having faith in yourself, and that's very nicely summarized.
And we're only 3/4 down the first page. Oh, okay. Now, one's religion is basically what one believes in. Okay? Your religion is what you believe in. That's why you have some people who are religious rock climbers. You know, they believe in rock climbing. Whatever you're devoted to, totally, that's your religion. For most people, it's money. Ethicalism believes simply in being as good a human being as one possibly can be, right? So that's why it becomes your religion, because you're totally devoted to simply being the best human being you can be and try to be a little better tomorrow. Because you're not going to be a decent human being. It's impossible. You've got all these layers, right? You've got the body's control, which is going to give you desire for sex, desire for pleasure, ego, looking good, all of this stuff, stay young, live forever. Then you've got the formed personality and all these other layers that I described. So it is absolutely impossible for you as you are, for a normal human being, to truly be a perfect human being. So that's why we always try to be a little better tomorrow. Okay? And that's the extent of the religiousness of ethicalism. That's our religion. All right, so...
What's that, David, sorry, would you say again, what is the religiousness of ethicalism?
That I simply want to be as good a human being as I possibly can be, and a little better every day. Okay? And a little better every day. All right? I think that in the little document, the explanation of ethicalism, we should really include things that were in the All Is Mine course. You know, things about fragmentation, self-lying, some things like that. Do you agree that would be good to put in a little introduction about ethicalism to show the defects of the human machine and what to do to correct them?
It's kind of a different topic. Like, don't know, they're more thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's up to you. But I kind of feel like it might not fit. They're slightly different.
Okay, because
I think there's two things here. That there's the ethics themselves, which
right.
you describe, and I think, I won't speak for myself, definitely things I want to live by. But there's the techniques you need to practice to learn how to do that, which is also a separate thing, or an additional thing, I would say. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of keeping them separate because I'd be a bit worried that I'm not adding too much of the other stuff. I'd be worried that it could scare people off. You know, like I do know some people that might read that kind of thing and think, oh, I'm not a broken machine, I'm not going to read this. But I guess maybe those people won't even probably take the ethics on board. I don't know.
I think what I can do is include some of the principles without saying we're a broken machine, but turn it into a way of look how you can't make decisions, how you have inner conflict. This is a way to deal with it. So in this introduction book, some of those principles and how to deal with them. And the ethics are the 10 Commandment tablets, sort of thing, is separate.
I like your thoughts on your words about heaven or hell as our lives are heaven or hell, depending on how we're living and what we're doing. And if that was kind of woven into what you're going to write about the all is mind, about how the current way of being causes these kind of hellish type scenarios, whereas the flip side, if you're doing it this way, is more of a heavenly existence. That might be nice.
Okay. Well, that's in here, yeah. Okay, good. All right, well, we'll see. We'll work with that. Okay. And then the next, okay. So anyhow, the point of me bringing that up right now is that I'm not going to talk that much about it today because most of you have done the course or read the book, okay? And I have explained to you about being like a cloud, because I say ethicalism is a code of conduct that makes one comparable to the most powerful force in nature, a cloud. Does anybody not know about being a cloud? Or have you all heard my explanation about that? You all know it? Yeah? Okay. All right, so just talking about the cloud and how it's more powerful. So we want to become like a cloud. And the ethics will make you like a cloud. You see, because when someone insults you or attacks you, and you feel fearful or hurt, what actually is the reason you feel fearful or hurt? Only because you know you did something wrong. You know you've done something wrong and you are going to get caught out. So you're scared of confrontation because there's something you feel guilty about or inferior or inadequate. Because if you're perfect, no one can bother you. And that's where I say we have to become like the cloud, where we're powerful enough to blot out the sun, but yet a jet can fly through you and you're not getting harmed. So it's about correct conduct for eliminating guilt of wrong actions, makes us like a cloud. So anyway, we talked a little bit about that. And then I wrote one little sort of poetic line, and then it is independent and unmanipulatable, yet brings shade, rain, or simply beautifies the blue sky with touches of delicate white puffs to everyone on the planet equally, right? And so that's another thing, is that we're supposed to become that objective, that there's no separation between who we would smile at, so there's not, oh, I like this person, I don't like that person. When you differentiate, I like this person, I like that person, that's coming from your ego level, your ego personality level. Or it could come like the joke of, in Judaism, there's a practice where you hit yourself and you say, I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. And this is to master your ego, to subdue the arrogant ego. Jews have a stereotype of being a little bit arrogant. Okay, I can say it, I'm Jewish. I know, I'm the most arrogant people you'll meet. So, the two Jews are sitting there, the doctor and the lawyer, they're sitting there in the synagogue, two rich guys, professionals, and they're sitting there doing their, I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. They're doing and doing, and then the janitor, the cleaner comes in and sits beside them and joins in, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. And the doctor turns to the lawyer and he says, look who thinks he's nothing. Right? So it doesn't always work, right? So we're trying to be a little more objective about equality, all right? As long as there are the noticing of skin colors as differences, religions, races, even sex, as long as there's a difference between the sexes in the way we view anyone, never have happiness on earth. Earth is always going to be hell. Always be hell. So that means heaven on earth is bloody ridiculous because it is never ever going to happen. Earth is always going to be hell. It's always going to have hatred, always going to have separation, always going to have pain. As long as humans exist, misery, hatred, negativity is going to exist. Ethicalism is about you being the only one in the universe. So, even if Earth and humans will always make this place a hell with all of their fighting and separation, you can bring your own mind and experience of life such that there is no separation in your mind. So when you see anyone of any race or color or country or sex or gender, now we've got lots more genders. When I grew up, there was men and women. Now we've got, there's like 5, 6 genders out there now, right? Yeah. Now we have to have 3 bathrooms in public places. It's getting very complicated. I guess some species are becoming extinct. They're creating new ones. A little bit strange, but at any rate. Okay, so it's counterproductive. This whole idea of now we need 3 bathrooms and we have transgenders and this gender, that gender, it's creating more separations. And the more people are fighting for their rights, I'm a Maori, I'm a Native American, the funniest one is African American. Whoopi Goldberg, this actress Whoopi Goldberg, she came out great. She says, what is this African American? I'm American. I'm not African. You see, the more of these things, and this is the problem with the world, it's coming up to more individuality. It's creating more separations, more groups to dislike and fight for each other and fight against each other. It's crazy. If you cannot see a difference between individual human beings, one from the other or from yourself, you will have achieved unity with everyone. But as long as there are different races and colors and genders and all of this, there is separation. And remember that soul is only looking for one thing, total unity. We're looking for unity. So you as an individual should only be concerned with your life because you will never change this world. And as I say, we can see evidence that it's only getting worse and worse, more and more separations. So you have to live in a way to make yourself something that has no separation, and by you becoming that, you actually set an example for other people. And the idea of ethicalism should spread around the world so that we have at least a lot of other people everywhere that think the same. So from that point of view, it satisfies several human needs, which are the need of purpose, in life. My purpose is to be the best human being I can be. It solves the question of what happens after I die, because, yeah, well, it doesn't really matter, because I, the human being I am, is going to die, so nothing's going to happen. Because my human consciousness is going to go poof and dissolve. I'm going to go to sleep and never wake up, and that's it. Because I can't comprehend the soul which might continue. So we accept that, resolves that question. And it eliminates individuality, which means that by eliminating individuality, I have, by that very process, created unity. So I can love you even if you don't love me. I may see you as the same as me, identical to me, because I don't see that you're an Indian woman or pink. Is it still pink hair there, Kathy? I don't know, but sorry, teasing you. Because in the screen it looks like, I don't see you as different than me, even if you see me as different than you. See, that's the beauty of living this way, is that even if you are in a crowd of individuals who all hate each other and see each other as separate and different, if you've achieved the goals here, you will be in unity with everyone, regardless of their feelings towards you. So we can achieve heaven on earth and total unity by altering and accepting responsibility of these different layers of our limitations and mastering that. Now, one thing is for sure, if you're in a group of people who feel very separate and individual from you and anyone else, but you feel this complete unity, you'll know you're getting there when, like me, it happens, someone I've done business with for a while, he said, you know something, and I want to know what that is. Okay? So when somebody tells you, there's something about you that you know, and I want to know what that is, not only are they recognizing you've achieved something, but you have now found someone who is truly, sincerely interested in bettering themselves. And because that will be so rare for that to happen, it shows you that just take care of yourself, let the world be what it is, because it's very rare to find someone who is actually truly interested in bettering themselves. Okay? So that's why you're the only one in the universe. You just take care of yourself. All right? So, faith, where are we? Everyone believes in a God. Okay, well, do you want to say anything before I'll continue? How are we doing on the time here? Fine, you're okay still. Anything? Nothing? Okay. So, everyone believes in a God. You find what your God is. But it's very simple. God is the word we use for the original source. So it doesn't matter if you are an atheist and you believe two atoms collided and that's where all of this came from. The atoms came from somewhere. Everything has to have ultimately come from somewhere. Whatever that is, the ultimate beginning of all things. That's what we call God. So it doesn't mean it has a personality, doesn't have an image, doesn't have a form, doesn't have anything. But whatever the ultimate beginning is, that's God. Okay? So that's our God. Our God is that, whatever it is. We have no concept of it and don't even try to understand it. It's just the original source. Very simple. Okay, so that's the God that we could, or if we refer to God, that's what God is. Right? Now, faith is an emotional power that makes a human into a superhuman. Okay, so Edison tried and failed 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. And he was asked, how did you keep going when you failed 10,000 times? He says, no, I never failed once. He said, I just found 10,000 things that don't work. Okay? He had complete faith in his ability to invent a light bulb. And so he kept going. And you have to have complete faith that you can achieve liberation from all the things that control you. And remember, nothing's going to change, right? Boys don't become girls, hopefully. You know, you don't have to change your hairstyle. You don't have to change your clothing. You don't have to change your profession. Nothing has to actually change. You might change all of it, but nothing has to change except you, your experience of life, to make it heaven, that you live in heaven here on earth, in this body, emotionally free. You have to have the faith that is achievable. And it is. It is. It's very simple. And the way we know and develop that faith is through the All is Mind work, where you see the broken machine. When you see how you are self-inflicting all of your emotional pain, how, you know, the first section of understanding words, how the way you take words, you interpret it for you to get angry about. And it's not the other person who got you angry, but your interpretation of words that got you angry. When you see and you review your day and you see, you know, I lied here to this person. I cheated that person. I stole that thing. I was rude and I made that poor person upset. When you see all of the things that you do, which actually, you know, you didn't have to do. Because I didn't really have to steal that thing. I didn't really have to insult that person. I could have kept my mouth shut there. When you see that, you say, you know what? I really can be a good person. Because everything I'm doing that makes me feel bad is actually not really that hard to stop if I put in effort to stop it. And just like opening both taps, if you have, you know, two taps on your faucet, a hot tap and a cold tap, and they're both open, I can alter how hot the water is without touching the hot tap by closing the cold, right? If I want the water to become hotter, I just turn down the cold. And that is how ethicalism turns you into a perfect human being, because it shows you the things not to do so that you do not feel like a bad person, so you do not harm anybody. It gives you that guideline, that framework, which right now you don't have. You don't know, because no one taught you. Because a human being has to be taught everything, including how to tie your shoelaces. Such a simple thing, right? So you have to have the faith that you will succeed. And these ethics and principles will show you that, you know, it is actually quite simple. It is actually very simple to master the flaws of your being. So the more you practice them and you observe your changes day to day, if you are sincerely observing the ethics, the stronger your faith becomes, because month over month, whatever it is, you will see the results. So, in other words, I'm saying, do not expect to have total blind faith right away. Faith is something you build based on your own personal experience. All right? And the more faith you have, the more power you have to succeed. Okay? So be faithful to your religion and objective at the same time. So have faith that I'll succeed. And if I'm not succeeding, I've got to be objective and say, it's not the ethics that are bad, but my lack of effort. By taking responsibility. Okay? And that way, you'll be able to build the faith and maintain it, which is absolutely necessary to mastering this very complicated machine that's trapping your soul. Okay? So the other thing is this, okay, be faithful to your religion, but objective at the same time. So I want you to be totally faithful and have complete faith in the ethics. But There's one Sufi told me this: God does nothing without a good reason. He gave humans a logical mind for a reason, so use it. I mentioned this earlier. Now, having said that, ethicalism says, accept all the information that we're giving you. But not only everything we're giving you, but accept everything in your life, anything within reason that someone tells you. But always test it and prove it to yourself before you determine if it's true or false. Obviously, some things you don't need to do it, but I'm saying, in general, one of the ethics should be accept everything and then test it and prove it. Do your own research. Don't take things blindly. Research, think, test it. Then you decide if I reject it or accept it as part of my being. Okay? Now, faith is pure emotion. Emotion is power. And emotion is the fuel to creativity. Without emotion, one is just going through the motions of life like a robot until your body dies. And without faith, you cannot have emotion. Because without faith, like all things in this dualistic world, one side of the coin, everything is another side of the coin. And the other side of the coin of faith is doubt. So there's faith or doubt. You're going to have faith or you're going to have doubt. Guaranteed. Anything anyone tells you, anything you hear, you see, you're either going to have faith that it's true or doubt that it's not true. So that's something to observe in yourself, is look for doubt. And if you doubt anything, then question yourself, is my doubt valid? Equally to, is my faith valid? Have I tested this to be true? To tell me what is in the Bible, which was written 1,500, 2,000 years ago, is true. Have I tested it? No. Was I there at the time it was written? No. How do you know it's true? They told me it's true. Don't believe it. Okay? Don't believe in anything unless you can test it and prove it to be true. This is a very crucial point about becoming emotionally independent, which is basically having self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence, self-esteem comes with being emotionally independent, which means you are not manipulatable by anybody. And the only way to have that is to have faith in yourself. And you have faith in yourself when you don't believe anything anyone tells you, reasonably so, but you test and prove it to yourself. And only those things do you have devout faith in. Okay? And that is the way to have faith in yourself. Because you know that yourself will not believe any rubbish that anyone tells you. Because you've trained it to only believe in what it tests for itself. So I know my machine is reliable because my machine always tests things to be true instead of just absorbing any garbage anyone tells me. Right? So Neil, have faith in yourself. Okay. So you can't have that. All right. I think I'm giving you too much too much at one time. Don't you think?
So what could I just, yeah.
Right? But it's introduction, right? And then you're going to get the little booklet when it's ready and you can read it and refer to it and, you know. But I think now I'll stop here and we can continue talking about that more next week.
Ask David, that questioning everything, it also includes the political climate as well, doesn't it? Like
Everything. But in what sense, political climate? I mean, politics is bullshit. You want to define what is bullshit? Politics. It's a definition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even waste time with politics. It's more fiction than and any space movie,
A lot of them are decisions that are meant for us.
Very good point. Okay. Politics, Kathy, is not anything for you. It's for the politicians. Okay? It's not for the people. Politicians are not there for the people. Politicians are there for themselves. So, ethicalism says, let them do what they want, and I'll do what I want. It means adapting to the environment, right? We're not separating liberals from nationals or whatever political parties are. We're not separating anything from anyone. I am going to take full responsibility for my life, living in whatever the conditions are that I am currently living within. And I'm not going to get involved in changing those conditions. I merely adapt to the conditions I'm in, and then I conduct my life in such a way that I'm always successful. If I'm going to get involved in politics, then I am no longer becoming emotionally independent. I'm becoming emotionally charged in a battle between me and them. Right? And so that's why politics, or anyone who loves politics, cannot be an ethicalist. It is impossible, because you're breaking one of the main ethics, which is cultivate yourself and let others do what they want to do.
So does that mean you don't do to change?
I'm sorry, say it again. Wait, I don't do what?
Anything to change anything in your environment.
Correct. I do not change my environment. I change myself in how I deal with my environment. Yeah. Don't change your environment. Change yourself. That's the only one you should change.
So there's no room for any social justice or any...
That's a matter of opinion. Because, you see, when you say social justice, you are saying that somebody is being unjust. Now, if you go ask that person, they're going to say, I'm being very just. You are being unjust. Correct? Because anytime it's me against somebody else, we both are of the opinion that the other one is wrong. So therefore, I am involved in a separation, and I am encouraging separation and saying, my way is right, your way is wrong. That person would be saying exactly the same thing in the opposing view. So that way you can never be an ethicalist. You will never find peace of mind, because you're always in positions.
There are some things that are wrong.
In your opinion. And an ethicalist has no opinions. He's perfectly objective. When you say there are things that are wrong, that is only from your subjective point of view. And that's based on those different layers that are trapping your soul.
Not necessarily, but I'll send you a letter.
Look, we're discussing about ethicalism and making your life a heavenly life. And this is the way to do it. If you have any separations, any social battles, any revolutions, any protests, you are making yourself, regardless of if it's just or not. That's not the question. The point is, you are putting yourself into a realm of separation, into a realm of conflicts. And the ethicalist is simply to be a decent human being, where I can be content with myself, such that my mind and my heart is at total peace and rest. And only then does the ball go in the hole. I have told you that story, right? Everybody know the ball in the hole?
The what?
No?
The what? Which one?
No? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Indian people. No? You don't know that? Simon, you're not knowing this story? Why Indian people, their head is going like this?
I can't remember whether we've heard it or not. Last week. Last week.
No? You're not knowing?
It's my favorite story. You can tell it.
Why is doing this with the head all the time?
Oh,
When
yes,
Indian child is born, only very little baby, we are cutting off head. and we're cutting out half the brain, and we put a plate inside, and this plate, metal plate, has a hole. Before put head back on, we put a ball, and so whole life trying to get the ball in the hole. If balls go in the hole, red dot light up. This is enlightenment. So anytime you see Indian who's not moving their head, you know ball is in hole. But you know Indian traffic, so violent Indian traffic. Cars banging, so nobody get to keep the ball very long because car get banged and he goes like that and then, oh, damn, ball is out. Terrible. So we're trying to get the ball in the hole. And if you're fighting any battle, that head is never going to rest. The heart is never going to rest. So that's why anyone who wants to get involved in any political, religious, any kind of conflicts, fight for justice, you've missed the entire point of ethicalism. Like, totally missed the point. Nowhere close to comprehending it. Because the point is, humans will always fight. Humans will always oppose each other. There will never be peace on earth because humans will fight. And as soon as there was a great Arab political analyst, and he said, how to kill all the Jews in Israel, make peace with the Arabs. The Jews will kill each other. And it's true because we have two kinds of Jews. There's the Sephardic and the Ashkenazi. The Sephardic are the Middle Eastern Jews. The Ashkenazi are the European Jews. And they hate each other. And the only reason they go together is because they got to defend against all the Arabs who are trying to kill them. But if there's no Arab to fight with, they fight with each other.
When you lost a beautiful.
I'm sorry?
You lost a very Jew recently.
And so the point is this, there will always be fights between humans. You fight for one political injustice, if that gets resolved, another one will come up. Okay? There will always be fights. So you will never ever have peace as long as you're fighting for something. So the ethicalist simply tries to be a decent human being and harm no one. We do not get involved in fights or battles of any nature. So, yeah. Okay, there's only one fight, and that's the true jihad. What Muhammad said was the jihad is you against your ego. You against your ego. The actual story, I believe it's in the Quran, is that they went out and they fought and they killed all the Jews in this other village, and they came back and they're celebrating the jihad. We won the holy war, and Muhammad says, no, no, no. That is the worst thing you can do. The real jihad is you now fighting with your ego. Okay, so it's this fight with your ego, not fighting other people. This is just the bullshit of religion. Okay, so that is the only battle you should take. And this is what I explained with the dot and the different circles of layers that are controlling you. That is what you battle. Battle the things that control you because of your environment that affects you and how you respond to it with, oh no, I have to fight for that political injustice. Wait, let the world be what it is. Okay. Then, oh, this, I have to be this certain way, have that certain culture, that accent, that is the only thing you battle. Those layers of yourself. And let the world do what the world wants to do. Okay? Don't get involved. Because the goal is peace of mind, heaven on earth. And there's only one way. The ball goes in the hole. You stop moving. You don't take that personally, right? You don't get insulted? Obviously you, in the middle. The one who looks more like an Indian than anyone else. Right? This is not disturbing you at all, no? Okay. You know my mother from India, right? So I'm allowed. Okay, I can do it. Yeah, okay. All right. So I don't know. I mean, if I did that in India, I wonder. You know, I didn't tell anyone. I was in India just last week. I didn't tell this to anybody, you know. So I'm wondering, maybe I should go and do that in India and see what they say. I think the Indians would be too polite to say, I'm going to kill you. But, you know.
Yeah. Don't mind wearing their clothes, everything.
I'm sorry, what about the clothes?
I said Indian people do not mind if you wear their fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so they don't mind teasing or anything, that, in my experience anyway.
Yeah, I found the same thing. There was only one time in my life that an Indian got angry at me when I was talking like an Indian, and he was born in Montreal, so he was really Canadianized, you know. So he was white on the inside, Indian on the outside, and he was quite Canadian and fighting for, you know, social injustices and equal rights and prejudices and all of that. He got upset. But yeah, never else. Anyway, okay, so what else? Right?
Perhaps it might be useful, certainly for me, just to hear. So what you're talking about with ethicalism is nothing different from what you've always been saying. Is that the general idea?
Well, of course, everything is ultimately the same, but it's a very complicated machine. The idea of creating ethicalism is that because we need a religion, humans need a religion, something to believe in, and you're not taught correct conduct. You have no moral values of anything substantial as a Westerner compared to what I'm raised with, at least what I've seen. When I lived in New Zealand, I'm shocked by what people consider morally acceptable. And in today's world, it's to me shocking because of how I'm raised, okay? So, and the proof is the level of low self-esteem, the increase of suicides, the increase of depression, the increase of low self-esteem, of inferiority complex, okay? All of that shows you have no sense of moral conduct, a code of moral ethics. So you know you're a piece of shit. That's why you feel like shit. You cannot feel inferior if you know that you are superior, or at least adequate. So the overall expression of the way the world is going, with the increases of depression and suicide and so on, proves that people do not have a set of simple, everyday rules to live by, so you feel worthy. And in one line I said that, where is it? Where is it? That's bizarre. To make you proud to be you. Anyway, somewhere I said that. Basically, the idea is so that you are going to be proud to be you. You're not proud, well, you, I mean in general, people, you're not proud to be you. You don't walk around in complete comfort and say, I am proud to be me. I have nothing to hide. I have absolutely nothing to hide. I'll tell you anything about myself. Anything you want to know. There's no secrets. Because I'm proud to be me. Because I live in a certain way that there's nothing to be ashamed of. And the reason is I have a code of moral conduct that I live by. And when you have that, you will be proud to be you. And that is the problem. So that is not something I have written out before, these ethics. Previously, I've been explaining to you why you're a broken machine, why you're self-destructive, why you can't be productive, and a lot of other things. I've been explaining the machine of the mind. But as we've seen over the years, very few people are interested in taking that course. So, and the need is really there. It's time for the world to get a new religion to live by. So this is similar and included, but yet slightly different, in a different direction. Okay?
That's great, thank you.
Yeah. Something easier. Anything?
In terms of working with this, David, piece by piece, bit by bit, you mentioned about if we practice and keep a log or observe our results, should we choose One, a few, all? I mean, how would you like us to approach?
That's the journal of changes I've taught you about many years ago. You just see if you're behaving differently at certain events. You know, it's the example is somebody had said, you know, every time my sister phones, I always, as soon as I hear her voice, I go, you know, or see the caller ID, I go, But this time, I didn't react badly. I felt pleasant and talked to her, and it was great. So that's a change. Okay, so it's those sort of things we want to change. The 5 questions, you know, when you go to bed at night, or how do you sleep at night? Do you sleep better? Do you find your sleep is improving? Do you find you sleep less? Do you find you wake up in the morning with a different attitude or mood than you have been waking up with? All of these things you could note, but it's more important, I think, what I was talking about today is to look at your lives. I believe this is really going to be great for me and help me, but I can't get myself to do it. Well, then you don't really believe in it. Okay? That's more of what I was mentioning today, is to look for your lies about what you actually believe in. And then don't blame the chef. No, what was it? Don't blame the waiter if the chef doesn't cook the food well. Right? So don't blame ethicalism if it's not working for you, because you're not putting in the effort. Find the real cause. And that is something you have to do for everything, okay? I'm not succeeding at my job. Why? My boss is this, my computer is that, whatever it is. Every excuse you're going to come up with, all right? Well, look at everything objectively. Is that really the problem, or is it you not putting in the effort to improve your skill? Okay? So you see, it's the principle of reflecting objectively about why you are failing at anything. What's the real cause of your failure at whatever it is? That's, I think, what I was talking about today. Okay? Wow, really not much questioned about all this today. But what do you think? Is this a good idea? Is this a good way to live? Is this a religion you would like to live with, adopt as your religion?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it'll appeal to so many people.
Yeah. All right, so then what's next step? We need a website and a Facebook page. And we need people to be managing these things so that it'll grow. And I think we need to make a website and a Facebook page before I start publishing any of this anywhere, so that there's a place for people to refer to. And that should have a way of people forming into groups, so that they can support each other, a support group, to be ethicalists. You know? So I think we need to do that, to help this grow, because why is religion great? It feeds the need of community. We have to be part of a community. And one of the very important let's say, qualities needed to help you become better at following the ethics is a lot of other people that are following the ethics also. So building up a global group is, I think, very useful purpose and beneficial to yourself as well as to anybody else who can begin to follow it. So if anybody would like to make up a website or make up a Facebook page and help towards managing it, please tell me and let's do those things.
Do you need like a forum, an interactive forum on the website?
I don't think a forum. No, I don't think a forum.
I do ordinary websites. Like
I think, yeah.
Monk, I can do a website like that.
Yeah, I think an ordinary website, and it can have a page for our groups globally or something like that. and then have links there to see videos or to join in on the discussions or something like that. But not a forum. Forums, the problem with a forum when I've looked at them is any idiot posts any rubbish. And then it just gets a bunch of idiots talking out loud. We need to keep things very clear and very focused, which is why religions created a Bible. See, as soon as you have a Bible, now you have this is it. This is what we talk about. Keeps people focused. So that's why we're going to have these ethics and this little booklet or whatever we'll create. And then everything has to be focused on that rather than an open forum. Okay? Yeah. And now you have a purpose in life, something to focus on. And now, okay, what I'd like you to think about as we continue developing this is you all have the current list of ethics now? Did you distribute it, Andy?
No. I wasn't sure if that was...
Well, usually in an email when I say you can pass this around to everybody, it's... Okay, I'll resend that email, okay? So you can... Yeah, so I'll send you again the current version of the ethics. If anything is unclear to you or you would like me to expand it, please do tell me, all right? So what we'll give you all now is the list of ethics, not this story that I've been reading from today, but the list of ethics, and we'll start building on that. And what I would like you to do, or what I suggest you do, is as you read these ethics and you start to actually follow some of them, next week you should give us some comments. I did this and this is how I felt, or this is what happened, or this is what I noticed about myself, or whatever, so we can start to discuss and go deeper into each ethic and explore really how it's affecting you, and that's the way I think you'll get the most benefit out of it, because a donkey with a load of books is still a donkey. And if you read the ethics and you try to do this on your own without discussing and exploring the effects they have on you, it's going to be just another book on the shelf. It won't change you as much. So a large part of its effect is the ability to discuss it and discuss the results or the effects you have, okay? Simon, do you have any that you want to explore in that way? Is that what you pulled it out for, or?
No, I'm just writing down what you're suggesting is trying the ethics, test and discuss the results. I want to make a note of remembering to do that.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
And in your case, having children and grandchildren, it would be very interesting if you found a way to talk to the younger ones, the younger kids, and your children, your grandchildren, saying, pick which ones you like and discuss it with them and see their reactions, especially the young ones. And that would be very interesting to hear.
I've already talked to my youngest daughter about being fragmented and who's the pilot in the aeroplane. She found that very helpful. She's going through some difficult times herself at university.
Okay. How old is she?
19.
Good. This is great age to see, because this is the time you need help the most. Teenager. 19, you're really lost. You're really up in the air looking for direction. You've got so many conflicting ideas, and it's so much more difficult now with the internet and Facebook and all of this. Article came out recently after the US elections where all these social media guys, Zuckerberg and all of them, they said, we now see, we didn't realize, but you know what? This social media stuff could be very dangerous, very harmful, because so many false articles are being posted, false reports that are influencing people, but it's all lies. You know, that was a part of the issue with the election. They're saying a lot of lies were published to influence voters, you know, false reports. And so they finally have realized something I've always seen, is that this social media is very dangerous because people believe what they read, but anybody can post anything they want. There's no vetting of validity. So at this age, and now with the internet and all of this, is the mid to late teens is a very dangerous time without proper guidance. And that's what I want the ethicalism to be, the ethics to be, is giving us, look, just follow these ethics. You can be in any profession, any culture, anything you want, but this will guide you, you know, very universally. So it'll be interesting to hear the feedback from the younger ones and see how they react. And you could tell it to the animals, but I don't think you'll get much feedback.
You'd be surprised.
She's a veterinarian, for those of you who know. Right? That's right, isn't it? You're a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Or are you an animal psychologist?
I have to be both. Plus a human
Right.
psychologist on top of that.
Right? Okay. All right, so, you know, there's something for you to do. So next week we can have a little more interactive discussion, I hope. All right. Okay, so is that enough for today, or any other last question or something?
No, I think that's pretty clear. So Andy will pass around the list of ethics, right? And then we'll all.
Maybe you, Chris. I'll send it to you. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll email it to the whole group, right? And then
Yeah.
we'll each take one or two or however many we're drawn to and try to apply those, and then come back next week with some results or observations.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how it feels. Any comments, anything to see that, or questions, or, you know, you read this one and you said, you know what, I don't get it. I'm happy to hear that. I want criticism too. You can say, I don't get it. Or this one, can you please talk a little bit more? Explain some more about it. Anything. Any comments at all?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.